and also helps to circulate the blood. Um, this is all, and also the sleep can help the brain because a fifth part of the blood it's canalized about when all the person are asleep.
Okay, perfect. I think that's a good summary, Mariana. Thank you very much. You're right. The last conversation's topic was about sleeping, right? How important it is in comparison to perhaps not sleeping. When you sleep, you have some benefits, right? Related to regulating and balancing, right? Certain systems in your body. And also it benefits, right? Your brain because you can work your memory in a better way, right? Remember, when we don't sleep properly, what happens? We are going to forget at least 40% of the information, of the new information that we have learned, right? So it's very important going to sleep because you're going to have a chance of consolidating the memory, right? And what is memory consolidation? Is the process of bringing information from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. It means you're going to be able to remember things for longer periods of time, right? There you go. We're going to start from that part, from that very part, and we're going to continue to keep with this conversation. So let's listen, please, Maria.
First 20 minutes, a phenomenon known as the forgetting curve. But this loss can be prevented through memory consolidation, the process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital.
All right. Until that part, we have some new information, Mariana. What were you able to understand in this part of the video?
Um, um, okay. I'm not sure, but the video says that it's a phenomenon, and this phenomenon can be prevented through memory consolidation, and the memory consolidation is a process when the information is moved from our um, fleeting short term, and um, and I can hear very well, but also talks about the hippocampus. And hippocampus have the role in long term to memory. And this is all, I think.
Okay, okay. I think you got most of the information over there, Mariana, and you were right. I'm going to play all these parts again. I'm going to turn on the captions and try to identify what parts you were not able to understand. For example, you were describing very well, right? This phenomenon related to the consolidation of memory, right? How it happens, moving the information from the short-term memory, right? The fleeting short-term memory to the durable long-term memory, right? The last part was missing. Then they are talking about an important part in the brain that helps with this kind of memory. Please try to identify what that important part is. And it's in the picture also that is going to be here. So let's listen from this part.
from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital.
All right. So, what extra information were you able to understand this time, and what can you add to what you already said, Maria?
Okay, for extra information, the video says that the role about in long-term memory, and also mentions I think that is a scientific, that is
Mhm.
Brenda Miller, maybe, and in 1915 her have a patient, and her research with a patient in the hippocampus, and her remove a hippocampus of the patient, and for the result, the hippocampus result very damaged. This is all.
Okay, okay, let's analyze that part. I think you're doing good. Let's remember just that word is going to be patient, right? A patient, yes. So, first we have to understand something, right? We have to understand this thing. I think you mentioned this, but let's go here again. So, it's over here, right? This part. There is a very important, right? A major part of the brain that helps with consolidation. And that's going to be what? That's going to be called the hippocampus, right? The hippocampus. This is very important in the brain for, let's say, forming long-term memory. You said it very well. In the 1950s, right? Brenda Milner, all right, Brenda Milner in the 1950s did what? Demonstrated that fact by removing, okay, so they did it like perhaps on purpose. They removed the hippocampus from one of her patients, right? And that patient's ability to form new short memories was damaged. It means that this person was not able to form short-term memories.
Short-term
All right, sorry. So, but this is something important. Even though short-term memory is damaged, he was still able to learn physical tasks, all right, through repetition. So short-term memory was damaged, but this person could still perform some physical actions by repetition. For example, playing soccer, right? How to kick the ball, how to do a technique when it's repeated. And it was also proven that due to the removal of his hippocampus, right? It means because of this, also the long-term memories, right, were damaged. But here they are saying that it doesn't matter that you can damage that part of your brain. It proves that the declarative memory is like damaged by that. But the procedural, all right, the procedural memory, the ones that affect physical movement, is not or was not affected. All right, so when you remove the hippocampus from your brain, this part of your memory is going to be damaged more than the procedural memory. All right. I don't know if you have any comments about this part of the video or any questions, Mariana.
No, teacher, it's all clear.
Okay. Now I have questions for you. Let's say that this was an extra thing that I wanted to see with you or to watch. First, how do you usually do, Mariana, when you want to memorize something, when you are learning something because of, I don't know, right? The university, some other courses. What is your strategy for learning and memorizing things, Mariana?
Mm, First, mm, I decided what have to study. And for example, I need to study economy. And first, I take a book and also read a very fast read. And second, I can highlight the main ideas because I think that is very important know about the main ideas in every text. And later I do a meaning map, or maybe a resume or summarize about my highlights words. And this is all, I think.
Okay, okay. It seems to be great, right? Because you have like certain steps, right? You first do certain things like only reading superficially, then you start highlighting important words or ideas, right? Or you can prepare some extra tools like mind maps, right? Conceptual ones, or working on other things like summaries, right? So I think I have it there. In the chat, I'm going to write certain words, please, to finish this conversation, Mariana, to try to work on the pronunciation of these simple words to improve a little bit, all right, on these ideas. And the last one is a word that perhaps you wanted to use. So I think that's it. Okay, those four words, please, Mariana. Can you read those four words?
Yes, blood, area, patience, and summary.
Okay, and one extra also over there. That one too, please.
Patient, patient.
Okay, good, exactly. So in the first one, even though it's like double O, right, and sometimes double O is going to be U, in this case, this is only going to be like blood, all right, blood, even though it's double O, all right, blood. This one, instead of the accent over here, it's going to be like in this E, so it's going to be idea, all right, idea. So you have blood, you have idea. This was perfect, right? Patience, and it's very similar to what you need to pronounce for a person, patient, right? A doctor's patient, right? And you have to be, you need to work with your patients, right? And this is the word instead of resume, because resume, we're not going to use it here. Resume is going to mean something different. We're only going to say a summary, right? A summary. So there you go.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about these words or about the last information that we were talking about?
No, teacher, it's all clear.
Perfect, Mariana. So thank you for being in today's conversation. Please don't forget to work on the unit. We have until, let's say, tomorrow, right, to finish this new unit. And tomorrow I'm going to be like assigning the quiz for this last unit that we're going to be covering. Well, we have one more unit, but for that last one, not going to have a quiz. It's going to be directly the final test. All right, let's take that into account. Thank you for joining today, and I hope you have a good night,
Bye, teacher. Thank you. Take care.
Mariana. Bye
See
bye.
you tomorrow.
You too. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.
Hi, teacher.
Hello, good evening, Gaston. All right, let's take advantage of this time then, Gaston. The student didn't join, so let's work with you. All right?
Okay, teacher. Nice. Thank you.
So, we are going to resume the last topic. Vamos a como retomar el último tema that was related to sleeping. What do you remember about the last conversation, Gaston?
Uh, we talk about the important the importance of the hours of the sleep.
There you go. Perfect. Do you remember some of the benefits that sleep can give us?
Yes, I have. We have more attention, and uh, our body take a better circulation.
Perfect. Perfect. Exactly. Many systems in our body, right, are balanced and they are regulated, right? The respiration system, then you have also the blood circulation, also the brain, right, is benefited. Why? Because our brain is going to work in a better way with memory. So, with that said, Gaston, I'm going to play from that part. Desde la última partecita que vimos voy a volver a repetir y vamos a ir a nueva información. Prestemos atención y vamos a tratar de decir todo lo que entendemos. So, let's listen, please.
The process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital.
Okay, so the information in this part can be complex, Gaston, but what can you tell me about this part of the video? What did you understand about this part, Gaston?
Okay. When we don't sleep very good, or okay, when we don't sleep very good, we lost the hippocampus. So this uh, part of the brain help to the attention, help to the memory, and when we don't sleep, lost this part.
All right. So let's try to understand because you have the main idea. La idea principal está súper bien ahí. The hippocampus is related with the long-term memory. ¿No? El hipocampo está relacionado con la memoria a largo plazo. But let's understand this part. Vamos a entender nuevamente esta parte. The hippocampus, right, it's like one part of our brain. Es una parte de nuestro cerebro, right? The hippocampus. We cannot lose it, right? No la podemos perder, pero sí ha habido una investigación, right? And it was here. There was research, había una investigación in the 1950s, 1950, with Brenda Milner, right? This was a researcher, ella una investigadora. And she demonstrated, ¿qué es lo que ha demostrado? With a patient, con una paciente que ella tenía, she has removed the hippocampus from that patient. Se ha removido literalmente, ¿no? Lo que es el hipocampo de ese paciente, ¿no? Mediante una cirugía, etcétera, right? So that's the only way perhaps in which we can lose it, ¿no? La única manera tal vez en la que podríamos perderlo. But in this way, this person ha demostrado al remover el hipocampo that this patient had problems with two kind of memories, que tenía problemas con dos tipos de memoria. The short-term memories, las memorias a corto plazo, right? And the long-term memories, y las memorias a largo plazo. But this patient was still able to perform physical actions, ¿no? Pero esa persona aún podía performar acciones físicas. So, what is demonstrated is that, lo que está demostrado entonces, en general, es que the hippocampus is related to this kind of memory. Está relacionado con la consolidación de la memoria a largo plazo, ¿ya? Pero la memoria declarativa. What is the declarative memory? Es esta memoria que está relacionada con las palabras, con los símbolos, right? That's the declarative. So the hippocampus. If we didn't have an hippocampus, si no tuviéramos un hipocampo, right? We wouldn't be able to remember things like this. No podríamos recordar cosas como esas. But the hippocampus is not that related to procedural memory. No está pero tan relacionado con la memoria, ¿no? Procedimental. That is related to physical movement, que está relacionado con el movimiento físico. All right, now let's try to do something, please, Gaston. First, primero, tell me if you have any questions, hazme saber si tienes una pregunta. And second, please, Gaston, we are going to try to summarize all the information that I told you. Okay, so do you have any questions?
No, teacher. I confused, o sea, me confundí al principio porque no entendí bien cómo se perdía el
Yes,
hipocampus y había sido que lo habían sacado en realidad. Así que
exactly.
gracias por la aclaración. Fue por el
No,
vocabulario que no lo entendí muy bien.
yes, and it's perfect because as I told you, the main idea you got it. La idea principal la tuviste porque el hipocampo, si lo perdemos, memoria a largo plazo no tenemos, right? Entonces lo importante lo tenemos ahí. But now, with this extra information and with this correction, con esta información extra, con esta corrección, try to give me one summary one more time, please, Gaston. Trata de darme una, ¿cómo se podría decir? Un resumen más, por favor, de esta información que hemos visto hoy. Let's try to do it, please, Gaston.
Okay. Investigate. Sorry, an investment demonstrate who when we when ¿cómo se dice paciente?
A
Teacher?
patient? A patient?
Okay. A patient lost hippocampus. She don't have the memory of long
You can say long term. The long term memory.
okay, the long term and the small term. So the hippocampus help a lot with the memory.
Exactly. And one question here, just to verify and also to be sure, is the hippocampus more related to the declarative memory or the procedural memory, Gaspar? What do you say?
Declarative memory.
Exactly, right? When we don't have the hippocampus, our declarative memory is going to be more affected than the procedural one. And to finish the conversation, Gaston, which kind of memory do you think you use the most because of the things you do in your life, Gaston? Do you use more of this declarative memory? Of course, everybody uses that. But in terms of the, let's say, things that you do as a person, Gaston, do you use more of this declarative memory or this procedural memory, Gaston? What do you say?
Um, I use more the declarative memory.
All right. And why do you believe that?
About what, teacher?
Yes, why do you believe that you use more declarative memory, Gaston? What makes you say that?
Because all the things I learning I using this for in the future, so I use a lot of this memory.
Okay, Perfect. So perhaps everything you do is related to remembering some words, right? Some symbols or something related to this kind of memory. Instead of this one, because this one is related, for example, to moving your fingers, moving your feet, right? If you are a sportsman, if you are a musician, or if you're someone who uses parts of the body, right, to do that work, we use more of this than this. But in your case, you're telling me that you are using more of your declarative memory, right?
Yes, teacher.
There you go. So we're going to finish here. I don't know if you have any final questions about some words or any final comment before finishing, Gaston.
No, teacher. That's all.
Perfect. So thank you for being in today's conversation, Gaston. I hope I can see you tomorrow for the next class. All right?
Okay, teacher. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
See you
Bye.
tomorrow. Bye bye. Hello, Daniela. Good evening. How are you?
Hello, teacher. Good night.
How's everything going for you? Is everything okay?
Yes, teacher.
That's great. So let's work with today's conversation. I don't know, something happened with the captions. I'm going to play this again. But in the meantime, Daniela, what do you remember about the last conversation that we had?
Um,
Sorry. Okay.
I don't um could I couldn't start
Um,
Monday.
yes, that's correct, right? You couldn't join on Monday. Yes, I remember now, Daniela. So this is going to be good because we're going to now learn about this, Daniela. We're going to learn about the benefits of sleeping. So I'm
Okay.
going to ask you the questions that I ask your partners. How many hours a day do you sleep, Daniela, usually?
Depends, but usually I sleep um 7, 8 hours.
Okay, good. That's the average, right? The average number of hours, from 7 to 8 hours a day. Perfect. The second question, and the last question to start the video. When you don't want to sleep, Daniela, when you want to stay awake, what do you do? Do you drink coffee when you don't want to sleep? Do you drink any other kind of beverage? Do you do an activity? What do you do when you don't want to sleep, Daniela? When you want to stay awake?
Um, I depends. I study or I lose the time with my phone.
Okay, okay. So sometimes, but you don't drink anything, right? The only thing you do is that you do some things for not to sleep. But for example, have you ever drank coffee in order not to sleep, Daniela?
Yes, um when I had
Mhm.
exams in the university, I drank a lot of coffee, but not now. Not I don't drink more.
Okay, good, very good. Now with that, we can start this video. We're going to see what is the best option when we sometimes have some other important things to do the next day. So let's pay attention to today's video, the 30 seconds, and I'm going to be asking you some questions. All right, let's begin.
It's 4 a.m., and the big test is in 8 hours, followed by a piano recital. You've been studying and playing for days, but you still don't feel ready for either. So what can you do? Well, you can drink another cup of coffee and spend the next few hours cramming and practicing. But believe it or not, you might be better off closing the books, putting away the music, and going to sleep.
All right, until that part, Daniela, what can you understand or what were you able to understand by listening to this?
Sleep occupies
Okay. He talked about that have he has test in
Mhm.
8 hours, and he has two options that
is drink coffee and um, continue
You can
the
say continue studying. Okay.
yes continue studying or um, of the off it's good anymore.
Or you can say like put off or put away.
Okay, put off the computer and the music and go to sleep.
Exactly. And what is the best option according to the narrator, Daniela? Drinking coffee and continue studying, or putting away your things and going to sleep? Which one is the best option?
Um, I don't remember what he says.
All right. So we're going to go to that part one more time
Okay.
and let's listen to it. But you're doing great. Everything you said is correct, Daniela. This is a person who has a very important, a very big test, and it's going to be in some hours. But not also test. This person also has what? A piano recital. So this person needs to decide if the best option is drinking coffee and continue studying and working with the piano, or going to sleep. So let's watch that part again and you're going to tell me.
What can you do? Well, you can drink another cup of coffee and spend the next few hours cramming and practicing. But believe it or not, you might be better off closing the books, putting away the music, and going to sleep.
All right, I don't know if now you were able to identify which one this person, okay, which option this person believes is better.
Yes, yes. He thinks that the best option is going to sleep and put off the books and the piano.
Yes, there you go. Thank you very much. So we have all that important information, right? And this person says, as you very well, right, also mentioned, that the best option is going to be to do what? To stop studying and sleeping. Why do you believe that this person is choosing this option, Daniela?
Because he needs rest or um, doing best the next day.
Okay, good. Yes, that makes sense. And we're going to see why is it important having this rest and how it helps the body. So let's continue watching and we're going to continue summarizing this.
Okay.
Sleep occupies nearly a third of our lives, but many of us give surprisingly little attention and care to it. This neglect is often the result of a major misunderstanding. Sleep isn't lost time, or just a way to rest when all our important work is done. Instead, it's a critical function during which your body balances and regulates its vital systems, affecting respiration and regulating everything from circulation to growth and immune response. That's great, but you can worry about all those things after this test, right? Well, not so fast. It turns out that sleep is also crucial for your brain, with a fifth of your body's circulatory blood being channeled to it as you drift off. And what goes on in your brain while you sleep is an intensely active period of restructuring that's crucial for how our memory works.
Until that part, right? We have a lot of information, I know, but what were you able to understand and retain in your memory, Daniela?
Okay. Um, he said at the beginning that he he doesn't know if sleep is um lost or no, but he knows that sleep very important for the body because um, is important for the brain and for the I don't remember the word. Um,
Tell
well,
me what you mean. Oh, one more time, please, Daniela.
is important for the body.
Good. Uh-huh. Very well. Now let's check. Do you remember what parts of the body or how sleeping helps the body? Daniela, do you remember one thing about that? We're going to check everything again, but in what way do you remember that the sleeping process helped the body?
Yes, it is important for the brain and the circulation and uh, for the I don't remember the word la respiración.
Good. In this case, it's going to be very similar to Spanish, Daniela. We say like the respiration system, all right? Respiration. The same.
Okay,
Sometimes we talk about breathing, but breathing is something different. In terms of system, in terms of the body, it's going to be respiration.
okay,
All right, great. There you go. You're right, Daniela. I'm going to go to some specific parts, and let's say yes, he believes that sleeping is a critical function, right? That's very important. So, and also at the beginning, perhaps we can say this person says that sleeping is not a lost time. All right, he says that it's not only like rest. Many people neglect. It's like saying they don't accept or they don't know, right? That the sleeping is very important. Some people believe that it's only a way to rest, right? When everything is done. But more than that, it's very crucial, right? And it's a very critical function for us. Why? Because when we sleep, our body, right? All our body balances, right? And regulates its vital systems. For example, you have over here, right? It affects respiration. You have the respiratory system. It affects circulation of blood. You have the immune system that is also affected, right? And benefited by this sleeping. And of course, not only that, but also the brain, right, is like affected in a positive way when you sleep, right? So you have many good benefits when you sleep, Daniela. So I'm asking you this question over here, Daniela. When you want, for example, to, well, you told me that sometimes you needed to drink a coffee to stay awake, maybe because you didn't finish reading something or it was a lot of information. It happens. Everybody did that, right? Even I did that, and everybody did it. But in which way do you believe that this video is giving you important information, Daniela? Do you think that this information is useful for when you need to do an important thing the next day? Or what do you believe about this information?
and yes, teacher, I think that it's in an important um, video because eh, they talk to relevant information
Good.
that we can help us um, to to meet. I don't know.
Okay, to what do you want to say there? To meet what?
Conocer información.
Okay. Yes, meet is only going to be like with people. So to know some important
Okay.
information to know, right? Or some important knowledge to know. Yes. And
Okay.
in this part, then you have to finish this off. We are not finishing watching everything. As you can see, it's a very long the video, but I'm going to tell you something brief. They say that if we don't sleep, sometimes we can sleep 40% of the new material that we learn. All right. When we sometimes drink coffee and we stay awake instead of going to sleep, this can happen. And why? Because when we sleep, we have consolidation of memory. It means that things that you've been learning throughout that day are going to be consolidated. It means they are going to be in the long term memory if you sleep. Also, other things can help to consolidate the memory, but sleeping is one of those things. And the last question goes here, Daniela. Have you ever tried studying something before sleeping and then the next day remember kind of everything? Or sometimes you feel that you forget everything when you go to sleep? What do you feel when you do that, Daniela, to finish today?
I feel that I forget everything that I study.
All
I
right.
don't know.
Okay, so we're going to analyze that. In the next conversation, we're going to continue watching part of this video and we're going to try to understand why it happens according to the information that they can give us. All right?
Okay, teacher.
Perfect. So that's it for today. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a good night, Daniela, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, teacher. Good night.
Bye bye. Good night.
Hello, teacher.
Hello. Hello, good evening, Marcelo. How are you? Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm searching the teacher. Thanks.
That's great. Let's continue with the last conversation that we were working on. If you remember, we were talking about the sleeping, right? Some of the benefits. And this time we're going to try to continue with that and remembering, well, first, let's try to make a review or to work on a review of everything we did, Marcelo. What do you remember about the last conversation that we had about sleeping?
Okay, I remember that it talks about the benefits of sleep. Uh, it had an example, and it was talking about a boy that had an exam and a piano test,
Okay.
uh, and it, she had a few hours, and he doesn't know to to do. And the the protagonist, the boys,
Uh-huh.
said that the that he must sleep because it is good for our body, and it talks about the respiration. No, it talks about the the benefits.
Yes, that's correct. And you were correct, Marcelo. Yes, you say respiration. Of course, we use the word breathe, right? Breathe in like respirar. But when we talk about the system and when we talk about the body, right? For example, the system is the respiratory system, right? So it says that it affects respiration and it's great. And good, it was a great summary. Yes, a person that has to decide whether to continue studying or going to sleep, right? The best option is going to sleep because it has benefits. Which benefits? It helps balancing and regulating many systems in the body, like the respiration system. It helps with the circulation of blood, right? It's also related to the brain, and it says that the memory is like one of the things that is affected positively, right? When you go to sleep, your memory has a better chance of working on this consolidation. Do you remember what is this memory consolidation about, Marcelo? Do you remember something about it?
Um, yeah, about the memory. It talks that when we learn something, we usually forget the 40%.
Hmm.
But if we sleep, our brain can restore that information. But if we take a cup of coffee or something else, our brain it doesn't work like when you sleep.
Okay, perfect, exactly. That 40% of loss can be prevented, right? And it's memory consolidation. Exactly what you say is true. When we go to sleep, I'm going to turn on the captions here. Where is it? Here. When we go to sleep, we work on this memory consolidation that is referred to moving our information from the fleeting short memory to the durable long memory, right? And that's the part where we stopped. Now, we're going to continue from this part, Marcelo. I'm going to turn off the captions. I know that this part can be also a little bit hard, but let's try to listen very carefully. And we're going to learn perhaps new vocabulary related to memory and how memory works. So let's begin.
Long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master
All right.
for that recital.
I'm going to play one more time. All right. And let's try to pay attention to this time, Marcelo. You're going to pay attention to why is the hippocampus important? What is that research or investigation about? And try to tell me also after this, I'm going to play one more time, to what the long-term memory is related. Okay? Let's try to pay attention to those things. So one more time.
Occurs with the help of a major part of the brain, known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital.
All right. So what can you tell me about this part of the video, Marcelo? Everything that you can remember or that you understood.
Okay, it talked about the hippopotamus. I can't remember that, but that part was discovered in 1950, and the scientific suppose that they, I guess they uh, mm, they try uh, to see that the thing that this thing can do, and
Mm-hmm.
it uh, they look that it thing can do a few damage of our brains, because uh, it the brain the human brain also can be distracted, and related by other name that I can't remember, but it says that we only have to concentrate our memory in one or two things and not distract with other things. I
All right.
I think
Okay, so we're going to try to organize those ideas. I think you were able to identify many important things, but we're going to connect them perhaps in a different way, and we're going to see what was that word. All right, so I'm going to turn on the captions, and let's go. The first thing that you wanted to mention, perhaps this is important. The consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain. It means if you want to move the information from the short-term memory to the long-term memory, a part of the brain that is very, very important is the hippocampus. All right, the hippocampus. The hippocampus has an important role in long-term memory formation. It means here, Marcelo, if we didn't have the hippocampus, we shouldn't be able to have a long-term memory. All right, so the hippocampus is very, very important. Something that you said that it was very true. It was discovered in the 1950s, right? By Brenda Milner. That was great. And this researcher discovered that by a patient, okay, she had a patient known as HM. They removed the hippocampus from this patient's brain, okay? They took it away, they removed it. And by removing that, what happened is when you don't have the hippocampus, first, your new short term memories are damaged, all right? So the hippocampus is very important. If you don't have the hippocampus, if your hippocampus is removed from your brain, it means that you are not going to be able to form new short memories. And also, what is it affected? Due to this removal, right? Because of this removal of the hippocampus, what is also damaged? The ability to form long-term memories was also damaged, right? So if we didn't have the hippocampus, our short-term memory and our long-term memory would be damaged, right? So the hippocampus is very, very important. But something that is also interesting is that there's a part that is not affected by the hippocampus. That is this part. You are still able to learn physical tasks through repetition. So it means that the hippocampus damages, or right, no, sorry. The hippocampus helps with short-term and long-term memory. And if you don't have the hippocampus, the long-term and the short-term memories are damaged. But the part that is not damaged is this learning physical tasks. And that's why at the end they say the following. Because of that, they have demonstrate that the hippocampus is related to the long-term declarative memory. This is related to some words, some symbols, and so on. All right. So if you don't have the hippocampus, this part is going to be affected, okay, or is affected. But a part that seems that is not that related to the hippocampus is the procedural memory. Because even if you don't have the hippocampus, the procedural memory still works. All right. So if you don't have the hippocampus, this part is damaged. The declarative memory, short-term and long-term memory of declarative memory. But if you don't have the hippocampus, this part is normal. All right. The procedural memory related to physical tasks or physical movements. Now, first, I want to ask you if you have any questions about this part, Marcelo. And second one, I will ask you to please try to summarize all that information that I just explained for you, and let's try to like give the important idea over here. So, what questions or comments do you have until this part, Marcelo?
Okay, teacher. I was thinking about an
Tell me, Marcelo, I cannot listen to you now. Marcelo, I can't hear you right now. I don't know what happened. It stopped working, but I cannot hear you right now.
such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital.
Okay, teacher, do you listen to me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Marcelo. Something happened. I couldn't hear you. I can hear you now. So you were telling me?
Okay. Uh, I think about something when you talked about a sick like Alzheimer,
Okay.
persons that have this sick, this part is disappear.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Alzheimer. Yes, that's very important question. Perhaps in the next part of the video they are going to mention that. But yes, I think when you have some illness or some problems, right, with your memory, Of course, there are some problems in your brain, right? Of course, we cannot say that the people, right, who have Alzheimer don't have the hippocampus, right? We don't know that, right? We don't know that. They still have it actually because you cannot lose your hippocampus unless someone remove the hippocampus from your brain in a surgery, right? But nobody's going to do that. It's going to be very weird. But what I think is that sometimes perhaps that part is damaged because we're going to continue watching this video, perhaps the next class, if
Mm-hmm.
we or we can also do it in a different time. The memory is mostly in that part, the hippocampus, and also in the cortex, that is like the superficial part of the brain. All right, that is like the long term, like the storage of the long term memory. So perhaps when you are working with Alzheimer, those parts of your brain, right, those parts of your brain are damaged. It's not that you lose them, but perhaps they don't work in a good way and they are damaged, right? It can happen that, Marcelo. But we're going to find out that perhaps in the next part of the video, in which they are going to show us where the long-term memory is stored in the brain. Okay?
Okay, teacher.
Perfect. Do you have any final questions or comments about this specific video or this topic?
No, teacher. Thanks.
Perfect. Again, we're going to try to watch this, but as we've spent two classes with this, because I think it's a very interesting topic, we can spend one more. But in case you want to explore a little bit about that question that you told me, because in the next part of the video, they're going to explain where the long-term memory is stored. I sent the link to the chat. Try to check it. Try to see where that part of the memory is stored, and perhaps the next conversation we can talk about that. All right?
All right, teacher.
Perfect. That's it then for today, Marcelo. Thank you for joining today, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next class.
Okay, teacher. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Hello, Lourdes, are you there?
Hi, teacher.
Hello, how's everything going?
Everything's okay. And you?
That's great. Everything is going well, Lourdes. Thank you very much. So today we're going to work with a different topic because I think we were able to cover most of the important parts already, all right, at least with you. But I have this very interesting video that is related to the language of lying. And it's very, 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 I think, not only interesting, but I think it's a valuable tool to identify certain things because maybe of a profession that we have, or maybe certain situations in which we need to identify, right, when some things like these are happening. Of course, this is not like a rule or this is not like the truth, right? But this is an interesting, you're going to see a very interesting perspective of how to identify when someone is lying. All right, so let's take a look at this video. I'm going to play it. And again, as always, after a certain time, I'm going to be asking you to explain what you were able to understand. So let's begin.
Sorry, my phone died. It's nothing. I'm fine. These allegations are completely unfounded. The company was not aware of any wrongdoing. I love you. We hear anywhere from 10 to 200 lies a day, and we spent much of our history coming up with ways to detect them. From medieval torture devices to polygraphs, blood pressure and breathing monitors, voice stress analyzers, eye trackers, infrared brain scanners, and even the 400-pound electroencephalogram. But although such tools have worked under certain circumstances, most can be fooled with enough preparation, and none are considered reliable enough to even be admissible in court. But what if the problem is not with the techniques, but the underlying assumption that lying spurs physiological changes? What if we took a more direct approach, using communication science to analyze the lies themselves?
All right. That's what, well, the kind of the introduction that we have for this video, right? They are mentioning many kind of situations in which we have like this lying part. So, what can you tell me about this introduction, Lourdes? What were you able to understand, and what can you comment about
Okay, it says that people uh, used to say like two 200 lies a day per day,
it?
and it says that there are different methods or machines that could help us to identify a lie. For example, there is a machine that measure your breath, because when you lie, it says that our breath is higher and stronger. Or so. There are others like that measure your pressure or your brain and all those kinds of things. Um, it mentions something about the laws that it could be used for a I don't know how to say it, when you are in you are you are being processed or
Okay.
something that you are doing.
Yes, that's called a lawsuit. But when you are lawsuited, you're talking about trial. All right. In trial, they analyze the proofs that they have against you, or the proofs that you are going to use against the other person. All right. So you can consider that perhaps a trial.
Okay, so this kind of methods could be used in a trial to find something if someone is guilty or not.
All
That's
right.
all.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lourdes. Yes, I think you have most of the information, but perhaps only that last part is going to be a little bit different. And we're going to try to watch it again, only that part, to understand why they were showing all those machines that you're talking about, right? We have many, many methods where we've been trying to use many, many methods, right? Throughout our history, even torture, right? But they mention those things because of a very important thing. And let's watch that part. From this part, right? It says, as we spend much of our history from this part. Let's listen to it.
Ways to detect them, from medieval torture devices to polygraphs, blood pressure and breathing monitors, voice stress analyzers, eye trackers, infrared brain scanners, and even the 400-pound electroencephalogram. But although such tools have worked under certain circumstances, most can be fooled with enough preparation, and none are considered reliable enough to even.
Here, this is important, right? So it's kind of the opposite. Even though we have those machines, they don't consider this as reliable. All right. None of those are considered reliable enough to even be admissible in court, right? In a trial. So they are not going to say, okay, let's analyze that breathing machine, right? Okay, now the breathing is like that, so guilty, right? So they don't use that, at least in formal court. Sometimes in television we see that and so on. But formally speaking, right? Justice does not accept these methods as part of this, even though in some cases it works, it says here, right? It can be good. It can be true that they are working, right? That was true, that was false. But most of the times they can be fooled with enough preparation. It means if you are a very, very good liar and you know what to do and you are a serial killer, right? A serial killer, you're going to know how to control your breath even if you're dying or lying, right? If you're a psychopath, you're not going to show those emotions. You're not going to be breathing like that. So this is not enough to do that. Even the electroencephalogram, all those things, they don't always work and they are not going to be considered as reliable enough. Perhaps they can be part of what you want to show or prove, but they are not enough and they are not admissible. All right. So with that information, let's continue because they are proposing something different. They say that perhaps we don't want to work or we don't need to work with machines. There's another way of analyzing and understanding lies. So let's continue.
Problem is not with the techniques, but the underlying assumption that lying spurs physiological changes. What if we took a more direct approach, using communication science to analyze the lies themselves? On a psychological level, we lie partly to paint a better picture of ourselves, connecting our fantasies to the person we wish we were rather than the person we are. But while our brain is busy dreaming, it's letting plenty of signals slip by. Our conscious mind only controls about 5% of our cognitive function, including communication, while the other 95% occurs beyond our awareness. And according to the literature on reality monitoring, stories based on imagined experiences are qualitatively different from those based on real experiences. This suggests that creating a false story about a personal topic takes work and results in a different pattern of language use. A technology known as linguistic text analysis has helped to identify 4 such common patterns in the subconscious language of deception. First, liars reference themselves less when making deceptive statements. They write or talk more about others, often using the third person to distance and disassociate themselves from their lie. Which sounds more false? Absolutely no party took place at this house, or I didn't host a party here.
All right. Until this part also.
Second, liars tend to be more negative because, on a subconscious level, they feel guilty about lying. For example, a liar might say something like, "Sorry, my stupid phone battery died. I hate that thing." Third, liars typically explain events in simple terms, since our brains struggle to build a complex lie. Judgment and evaluation are complex things for our brains to compute. As a US president once famously insisted, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." And finally, even though liars keep descriptions simple, they tend to use longer and more convoluted sentence structure, inserting unnecessary words and irrelevant but factual sounding details in order to pad the lie. Another president confronted with a scandal proclaimed, "I can say categorically that this investigation indicates that no one on the White House staff, no one in this administration presently employed was involved in this very bizarre incident." Let's apply.
All right. So until that part, I know that it's a lot of information, but let's try to summarize everything that you believe is important about this analysis of lying, right? The language. We're analyzing language and we're trying to identify liars by the way they communicate, right? So they don't say we don't need machines, but we can analyze language. So what can you tell me about all this information, Lourdes?
Okay, it says that the human being act and talk consciously, maybe with just the 5% of their brain, and the rest, the 95%, it's unconsciously, subconsciente.
Okay, yes, you can say unconsciously.
Okay, so people talk with the subconsciously.
Uh-huh.
Then it says that there are 4 methods that we can identify to find a lie. And the first one says that it's when the liar tries to pull away the lie from himself, like trying to talk in third person or not involve him or her in the lie. The second, I don't remember very well. The third one says that the liar used to used to you used to use words, uh, and, um, and polite language, maybe,
Okay.
to tell the light. And the last one says that the liar makes so complicated the life. It's not so simple. So try to make so many explanations and justify the life.
All right. All right. Great. Thank you, Lourdes. I think that that's a great summary of everything. And it's interesting the way we can analyze all those things, right? I'm going to go to that part so that you can check that vocabulary. You can talk about the conscious part or the unconscious part, right? Something consciously or something unconsciously. And let's try to see what's the word or the idea that they use here.
But while our brain is busy dreaming, it's letting plenty of signals slip by. Our conscious mind only controls about
All right. So first they are talking about the conscious mind, right? And it's controlled, well, it only controls like 5%.
5% of our cognitive function, including communication, while the other 95% occurs beyond our awareness. And according to
Right? So here they're not talking about the unconscious part, but you can say that conscious mind and unconscious mind. Or you can say what you do consciously and what you do unconsciously. But they are talking about what happens beyond our awareness. In other words, the unconscious mind, right? Which is like very, very big. And let's check now the things that you were saying. What we're doing here, the subconscious language is related to what? To first four things. The first one, the thing you said, right? Third person. They don't want to identify themselves as liars. The second one is related to the one that you mentioned as the third one, right? In a subconscious level or in an unconscious level, when they feel guilty, they then tend to be more aggressive, right? So they say, my stupid battery died, and they use those aggressive words to express ideas. The third one, it's going to be, this is like kind of complicated to understand. They use simple terms, all right? They use simple terms, but the fourth one says that even if liars explain things in simple terms, those simple explanations, I think it's over here, even though they are simple, they structure those simple ideas in a convoluted sentence structure. It means that they go round and round and round and round and round over the same thing because they don't want to get to the final point, right? Now, I have a question for you. I know that we're perhaps over the time, but this is the final question, Lourdes. What do you think about these ways of identifying lying? And what do you think and what comments can you make about this?
I think that it could be useful
Mhm.
for maybe for not for only one profession. I think that it's useful for every person. For example, in the business area, I think that this could be very useful for uh, a person that is responsible of human talent, or even the CEO of a big business, because it's important find people who you will give some responsibilities, and it's important to have trust of them. So I think that it's uh, not that simple method, because you have to be very perceptive. But I think that it's the most simple method, and maybe the easier to learn.
Okay.
So I think that it could be useful.
All right, and it's great what you're mentioning. Look, as a psychologist, I've been working like in human resources and let's say recruitment, right, personal selection, and you're right. You are going to be working with tools like this because you need to identify, right, and you need to have like a very, very detailed profile of the person that you're going to be hiring, right? Of the people who are going to be working in your enterprise and so on and so forth. So it's very important that you can identify perhaps who's lying related to some important responsibilities and if you're going to give him the position or not, right? So I totally agree with you. In many professional fields, this can be used. Also, when you're working in court, right? If you are a lawyer and you want to work with someone or you are the jury and you want to see who's guilty or not, these are very important elements to take into account, right? So, do you have any final questions or comments before finishing today's conversation, Lourdes?
Not teacher, everything is okay.
Perfect. Thank you for being into this conversation. Then I'll be seeing you directly, I think, next week for Tuesday's conversation. All right?
Yes, teacher, thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend. Hello, good evening, Andrea. How are you?
Teacher, good evening. Sorry to be late. I was trying in another link. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry, it happens. But you're here. Let's take advantage of these minutes that we have. We have 11 minutes. You know that we're going to keep working in the last video that we were watching that was about sleeping, right? So to begin this, Andrea, I would like to ask you, what do you remember about the last video?
Uh, okay, teacher. The video said that is the best option is to sleep and leave another things that uh, that person in the video was doing, and maybe also there are many processes that are happening when we sleep.
Correct, correct. It says it was like a decision that one person needed to make, right? Continue studying and practicing for the exam and the recital, or going to sleep. The narrator says that going to sleep was the best option because of the benefits that it has, right? It balances and regulates the body. It helps the systems like the respiratory one, blood circulation, the immune response, and also it's related to the brain, right? Because we restructure the processes we have there, and the consolidation of my memory can be one of the benefits, because when we sleep, what happens? That part of the short-term memory that we have is going to move to the long-term memory, right? So with that idea, we're going to go to the next part of this video because it's going to have information that I think you can use. Perhaps I'm sure that you must know what is going to come after this, but we're going to be learning perhaps that vocabulary and some history right behind this important part of the brain. So let's watch this next part. And please, Andrea, try to understand the following. Which one is a very important part of the brain for this process of consolidation of memory? What's the result of the investigation or the research that they are going to show? And to what that important part of the brain is like related. All right, so we're going to listen to this time. Let's pay attention.
With the help of a major part of the brain known as the hippocampus. Its role
A little bit behind to understand everything from this part.
which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital.
All right, so one more time. I'm going to play this one more time and let's try to listen again to those important elements. So from
The process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital.
All right, so what are you able to understand and to get in this part of the video, Andrea?
Okay, teacher. That part that is important in our brain is the hippocampus. That part, how can I say encargado? Or
You can say it's in charge of.
okay, that part is in charge of move the short-term memory to large-term memory. And in maybe in 1950, I think Brenda experimentó, how can I say? And
Yes, you can use a very similar word to Spanish, experimented or tested, one of those.
Okay, teacher. Tested in one person that he calls HM, and the process was to remove the hippocampus, and it shows that to not have that part can damage our short term memory, and after also can damage long term memory. That teacher.
Correct. No, you have everything there, Andrea. Very good. Yes. That major, I'm going to turn on the captions. We're going to go part by part with this, right? So let's go first to this. The one thing that is going to help moving information, right, from the short term to the long term memory is a major part of the brain that is called what? The hippocampus, right? The hippocampus is going to be very important. And someone is going to demonstrate, right, the role that hippocampus has in our brains. And that's going to be Brenda Milner in the 1950s, right? Brenda Milner, through some research, right, found that in a patient that had the hippocampus removed, he or she realized that there were some parts or functions that were damaged. One of them was the formation of new short-term memories, and the other one was related to the long-term memories as well, right? So both are damaged. But the other thing that she found was that there was one part that was not damaged by the removal of the hippocampus, and it was what? The ability of learning physical tasks through repetition. So even without that, this person demonstrated that you can still perform physical tasks by repetition. That's why, and this is very important because this is the only part that wasn't mentioned, is that the memory that is going to be related to the hippocampus directly is going to be the long declarative memory, right? And the one that is not that much related to the hippocampus is going to be the procedural memory related to the movement of some parts of the body. Let's say, like, for example, the fingers movements, right? For the recital. Now, I want some comments from your part in this specific video, Andrea, because I know that I have extra knowledge about this things. What do you think about this? Do you think that this is accurate? Do you agree with what the video is saying? Do you have any extra information perhaps about this?
Yes, teacher. And also, when the first part said that uh, all these things are a consolidation of
Mhm.
memory,
Yes, correct.
and that is important, and we can prevent all of these things sleeping. That's
Yes.
all.
Correct, exactly. So to prevent this loss of memories, it's very important this process of consolidating memory, right? Consolidating memory. And of course, sleeping is going to be one of those things that are going to help us do that job, right? So that's why perhaps sleeping is very important, not only because of the balance that you're going to have with your body and so on, but also because of these benefits with memory and so on and so forth. And the last question, perhaps, that you can expand a little bit here, Andrea, uh, how much do you do this? I mean, what do you do, Andrea, when you want to keep like a lot of information in your brain? For example, for your career, and it can be for many careers, but for your career, you need to like retain a lot of information. What are the strategies that you applied to do that? And did you apply these things of sleeping? Because I know that sometimes when you're studying like careers like medicine or something related to medicine, you sometimes don't sleep because of the amount of books that you have to read. But that's like negative sometimes, right? Because you are like affecting your memory when you don't sleep, and but you need to read a lot. So what do you do in that kind of situations, Andrea? And what do you perhaps recommend to do when a student is in that kind of situation? Because maybe you experimented with that. What do you say,
Yes, teacher. First, it is very important try to sleep. Also, find some hours that we are free, maybe,
Andrea?
and also, like the video says, repeat uh, the information that we read. For me, is uh, how can I say, mm, la herramienta, the skills,
The tool.
the tools that I use for memorize lessons of uh, my career.
Okay, that's great, Andrea. Thank you very much. I think that's very important to know, right? Many people don't know things or don't know facts about strategies or tools that they can use when they need to study or memorize or retain information, right? But as we can see, it is very important to know all of this. Because if we don't know, right, all of this information, we can make many mistakes, and at the end, we are not going to be able to memorize things. We know that many people around the world, right, have problems with studies, with memorizing. So it's very important to know this. Thank you very much one more time, Andrea. I don't know if you have any final questions or comments before finishing today's conversation.
Now, teacher, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So I'll see you tomorrow for the next class. I hope you have a good night.
Okay, teacher. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye bye. See you tomorrow. Hello, Fernando. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, teacher.
Hello. How's everything going? Is everything okay?
More or less.
All right. So perhaps you are having some problems, some inconvenience over there. Can you work right now? Fernando, do you feel ready to have this short conversation?
Sure, teacher. Let's continue.
Okay. All right, Fernando. Perhaps this is going to help like distract your mind a little bit. So I'm going to work on a different thing with you. With you, we were working also this part, right, Fernando? Were we able to work this topic with you, Fernando? I think we didn't, right? About sleeping. Did we have this conversation with you? No, right?
No, no, teacher, no, no. About the sleeping.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do now. We're going to watch benefits of sleeping, right? Of a good night sleep. Because we know that sometimes we have some situations in which we cannot sleep because we need to study, we need to complete some tasks, right? We need work to do. So we're going to see what happens when we don't sleep and we prefer to do those things instead of sleeping. All right. So to begin with, Fernando, I have two short questions. The first one is, how many hours a day do you usually sleep?
I usually sleep 6 or 7 hours. In some cases, 5. For example,
Oh,
when I in my job, in, but in I don't know this sounds. Did you?
you don't know what? You were telling me, Fernando. For example, when you're in your job.
Uh, yeah, yes, teacher. When I'm in the out of the city,
Okay.
and I there is a sound, teacher. Will be your microphone. Yes.
I'm going to turn it off, perhaps, and you're going to tell me if you still hear it. Okay. I'm turning it off.
Okay, teacher. Um, when for example, when I in my work, but out of the city, I work there for 14 days or 21 days, and in this place I don't sleep so much. I sleep more or less 4 hours because the operations are 24 hours by day, and we have to be present in in every in every difficulty that could happen in the operation.
Okay, so your hours of sleeping go from 5 sometimes up to 7 sometimes. But
in
when
in
you
the
are
city,
at your job, right? What
yes,
happens is that you need to be like awake most of the time because your job presents lots of perhaps some difficulties or things that you need to assist immediately, right?
yes, teacher.
Okay,
But
the
in the
second
city,
question,
okay, teacher, continue,
tell me
please.
that please. Give me that extra comment, Fernando, please.
But in the city, I can sleep more time or much time.
All right, so that's only when you're out of the city, right? Because of your job. Okay,
Exactly.
perfect. The second question goes here, and actually it's related to what you told me. When you don't have to sleep, Fernando, because of your job, right? You need to stay awake more hours. And sometimes, perhaps, in some situations, it could have happened that you didn't sleep at all or you slept way less. What do you do when you don't have to sleep, Fernando? For example, do you drink coffee? Do you drink something, energizers or something like that? Or what do you do when you have to like obligate yourself to sleep? What do you do?
And the coffee helps me. It's a good way to be uh, despierto, be
Awake? To be awake?
awake, to be awake. But in my job, uh, not everybody, but the the most one is it what? No, I don't
It's
know.
better if you say there, Fernando, most of them, but
But
most of
most of them, uh, mm, the verb is not eat, but masticar coca.
okay, you can say chew. Okay, chew
Chew
must be
coca.
exactly. All right.
Chew coca. and sometimes I did that. It's truth that it helps when you want to sleep, but um, no, it's truth because you don't shoot only coca. The coca comes with another components like bicarbonato de sodio, like coke, like coffee, like in some cases uh, oil.
All
um,
right. So there are many elements that come along right with coca that
yes,
help you stay awake.
it's like a drug.
All right, but I think it's not negative because many, at least in Bolivia, right? That's like part of the culture, right? Chewing
Yes,
coca, because you know that sometimes here in Bolivia, they know that even though they say that sometimes Bolivians are lazy and so on, but we also know that Bolivians are very hardworking sometimes, right? When we are working in constructions or other places, many people work a lot, and what they do to stay awake, right, is choose some coca, and that helps a lot, not only because it's going to help you stay awake, but it gives you, I think, some energy, and it helps you sometimes don't feel that pain that you feel when you don't sleep or when you have some kind of wounds. So I think there has many benefits, and as you said very well, sometimes it's like a drug, but I think it can be considered for some people like some medicinal help, right?
yes, teacher. There are uh, many people. Is it good if I say many people or many persons?
No, it's perfect if you say many people, Fernando, because people is plural. Even if it's irregular, it's the only way, good way to say that is many people. You can say many persons, but the best one and the most common one is many people.
Many people. There are many people that couldn't or they that can't work without coca.
Yes, yes, I've seen
They
that
can't
because
work. Mm,
they need that right to work. They are all the time
yeah.
chewing coca and they can stop doing. Sometimes even those people, some of those people, it's because they don't eat that much. I've seen that. Sometimes when they're working in constructions, for example, they
Ah,
are coca. They don't have time to eat, so they have to continue working, and that coca helps them give energy because they don't eat, right? So
mhm.
that can be sometimes a good thing, but I think in the long run that can also be negative for the health. I don't know. What do you think about that, Fernando?
In some meetings in the job, in my job, because every day we have a meeting at half no at 6 o'clock a.m. and the doctor spoke about this topic, and he said that the coca could become a cancer in our mouth because the branch of the coca is
All right.
dangerous.
All right. So it's even more dangerous than what I thought, right? So it has, of course, many benefits because, as I was mentioning, many people take this as a medical, right, benefit that it can have. But of course, that the consequences can be shown after a certain period of time. Perhaps in the long time, right, in the long run, we're going to see those negative effects. And talking about cancer, I think that's a very big thing. What do the workers their thoughts about that?
They were awesome, and but they continue shooting it.
Chewing it, all right, to chewing, all right. So they
Mm,
continue doing that. It's very hard,
yes.
right? When you're accustomed to doing something, it's really hard to stop doing it. At the end, we can be addicted to anything. It doesn't have to be a drug, right? Because it doesn't have to contain like caffeine, right? It doesn't have to contain like any drug to be addicted to that. Because as human beings, we can be addicted to anything, right? Anything can become addiction. But of course, the coca also has some components that can be like very easy to be addicted to. So it's going to be really hard for some people to leave it. It's a way of living, I think. Perhaps some of them should stop doing that much, but it's important to control ourselves sometimes, right? For not to fall into addiction.
Yes, teacher, but for some people, I look like an addiction in them
Yes,
because they can't be one day without the coca.
yes, yes, and it's hard. That's why sometimes they need to work in a different way, right? I don't believe that anybody look. For example, I as a profession, I'm a psychologist, right? I know about those topics related to addiction and so on. I don't believe that everybody needs to go there. I don't believe that having some routines is bad. Even chewing coca is not negative if you know how to control that. But if you really cannot stop doing it, sometimes you need to approach that in a different way, right? Because at the end, it's going to be negative for you. And if you're working a lot to get money, it's not going to worth getting all that money if in 10 years you're going to get sick, you're going to have cancer or something like that. You're not going to be able to enjoy your life, right? With the money that you were able to earn and so on. So at the end, we need to think of many things, but of course, not everybody is aware of that. And unfortunately, many people are still going to do things even though they are harmful for them, right? Even though they are dangerous for them. Sometimes we can change them, perhaps try to talk to them little by little or every day, even insisting them. Sometimes they get mad, but I think that's a good approach, trying to convince them in a good way. Sometimes we know, right, our friends or our co-workers, trying to take them out of it can be a good idea, but it's important to know how to do it, right, without hurting their feelings or without being so aggressive with them. But that's, I think, a really hard job to do. I don't know what do you think about that, Fernando.
I'm agree in this part that there is a lot of relationship with the psychological part.
Great. Yes, there is. And it's going to be something that is very complex to work, right? I think it's really interesting because we look, today it was going to be, and it's about this sleeping. And I was mentioning this because actually they say that sleep is very important. And sometimes when we avoid sleeping by doing certain things, for example, many jobs, that is like something that you cannot avoid, right? You can say it's unavoidable. But sometimes when we don't sleep, we also have some negative consequences in our bodies
Mhm.
because our body, right, needs to rest, right? Our body needs to rest. And that's why they say, for example, in this video that sleeping is important. And I'm going to go directly to that part, Fernando. Let's listen in only to this short part to know some of the benefits of sleeping and what sometimes can be affected when we don't sleep. All right, so let's listen to this. It's going to be 30 seconds, I think.
Okay,
Over
teacher.
here. Let's listen to this.
Time, or just a way to rest when all our important work is done. Instead, it's a critical function during which your body balances and regulates its vital systems, affecting respiration and regulating everything from circulation to growth and immune response. That's great, but you can worry about all those things after this test, right? Well, not so fast. It turns out that sleep is also crucial for your brain, with a fifth of your body's circulatory blood being channeled to it as you drift off. And what goes on in your brain while you sleep is an intensely active period of restructuring that's crucial for how our memory works. At first glance, our ability to remember things doesn't seem very impressive at all. 19th century psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated that we normally forget 40% of new material within the first 20 minutes, a phenomenon known as the forgetting curve. But this loss can be prevented through memory consolidation, the process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory.
All right. And to complement that idea, this memory consolidation can be done when you sleep. All right. When you sleep, this works. It means that you're going to move the information that you have in your fleeting short-term memory to your durable long-term memory. So it means that this is one extra benefit of sleeping. What can you tell me about this part, very short part of the video, Fernando, to finish the conversation?
It's truth, all what the video says. For example, the sleeping, sleeping very well helps us help us with the blood circulation.
Correct.
And
What else? What else do you see that it's beneficial for?
it's beneficial in different ways. For example, uh, when you have some responsibilities in your day, you will uh, aprovechar, improve, no,
You can
improve.
take advantage of. You can take
You,
advantage of.
you can take advantage
Good.
uh,
Very good.
better than the other persons if you better than the other people if you have uh, had sleep uh, the 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 necessary hours.
Correct. Right? Because you need to refresh. You need to restart or reboot. Right? Start again. You need to regulate because they say, right? I'm going to show also this part. When you sleep, your body balances and regulates the vital systems, the respiratory system, right? The blood circulation, the immune system. It also helps the brain because when you sleep, something happens in your brain, right? Something happens in your brain and it's related to what? To this over here. No, sorry, it's this one. When you sleep, an active period of restructuration is happening. It means that your memory is going to be benefited, all right? Because you're going to create new connection between your neurons. When you sleep, all of this is happening, and all of the new information that you learned throughout that day is going to be consolidated. If you don't sleep, something can happen, and I'm going to finish with this, is that sometimes you can forget 40% of the things that you did and that you learned. So sleeping is very helpful for this because that 40% okay loss can be prevented with memory consolidation. And again, what's memory consolidation? Is when you move the short-term memory, the information from the short-term memory to the long one when sleeping, right? Any final comments or questions before finishing today, Fernando?
No, no, teacher, I don't have any question today.
Perfect. I think it was good. We were able to have, I think, a very interesting conversation with you, Fernando. The first minutes were only about that. And I think that's very valuable because in that way, I think we can practice a lot. I hope this was very helpful for you, Fernando. Thank you for sharing also the information you have related to your work and all that, because that's also valuable to create this more complex conversation that we have. All right. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow in class, Fernando.
See you tomorrow, teacher. Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow. Bye bye. You're welcome.
Bye bye, teacher.
Hello, good evening, Jasmine. Are you there? Hello, Jasmine. Can you hear me?
Yes, teacher. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. All right, so let's begin with today. Today we're going to do something different related to vocabulary. I want you to know these words very well. Vamos a revisar el vocabulario y las unidades que hemos visto hasta ahora, Jasmine. Es muy importante. Tú ya lo viste esto en lo que resolviste, pero ahora tendría que quedar súper claro para que podamos usar. First, I'm going to try to analyze how much you know about this. Primero vamos a tratar de evaluar cuánto conocemos sobre esto. Okay? So, first, Jasmine, let's do the following. Vamos a hacer lo siguiente. I'm going to highlight a word. Voy a resaltar una palabra and try to tell me what you understand by it. For example, cheer up, Jasmine. Do you know the meaning of cheer up?
No.
All right. Then what about when you say watch out? What is the meaning of watch out? Do you know that meaning?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so let's do this together. Hagamos esto juntos. No, esta era parte de la unidad uno justamente que teníamos. Pero justamente como sé que varias de estas cosas son complejas, las vamos a ver conmigo. First, vamos a ir resolviendo esto para saber qué es lo que es. Primero, tenemos que decir cuál de estas opciones sería la correcta y vamos a explicar para que tú la expliques a tu vocabulario, Jasmine, porque esto lo usan los nativos y lo usan bastante, ¿no? Los que hablan inglés nativamente. ¿Cuál de estas identificaría a la siguiente definición? Try to do something that you really want to do.
Go for it.
Yes. When you say go for it, in other words, what you're saying is, ¿qué es lo que estamos diciendo en otras palabras cuando decimos go for it? Ve por ello, ¿no? Haz lo que realmente quieres hacer. So go for it, it's an expression that works like that. What about number two? Be kind. What is similar to be kind, Jasmine? Have heart, cheer up.
Ah, no sé, teacher. I don't know.
All right. So I'm going to explain. ¿Cuál sería? Te voy a dar la definición, entonces voy a identificar. Be kind significa que seas o amable o bueno, que seas una, entre comillas, buena persona con alguien, que seas amable con alguien. Con esa explicación, ¿cuál sería? Y sabiendo que aquí heart no significa corazón.
Have here.
Ajá. We're going to see, but it seems that it is. Podría ser. Pienso que es el más adecuado. ¿Por qué? Be kind, sé bueno, sé amable. Es muy parecido a ten corazón, ¿no? Have heart. What about this one? Be careful because something bad might happen. Right? Be careful because something bad might happen. ¿Cuál sería? Stick to your guns or watch out. ¿Qué diría una persona en inglés?
Teacher, I don't know because no sé el vocabulario que está ahí.
All right, so let's check. Como les comenté, esto fue parte de la primera unidad, fue asignado, en realidad toditos ya lo resolvieron. Quizá en los ejercicios o no lo vieron muy bien o no prestaron mucha atención, pero esto en sí ya se vio. Pero veamos nuevamente, entonces voy a ayudar con todos. Más que todo pregunto, porque en películas y en varios lugares se usa esto bastante. Yo recomiendo mucho que ya estando en este nivel, prácticamente todo lo que se consuma sea directamente en inglés. We have to try to do that. Incluso yo, cuando yo hacía eso, lo que yo solía hacer y lo que les digo a las personas que estudian inglés, que dejen de ver todo en español, que el español solamente lo vean y lo apliquen solamente con sus amigos o con sus parientes si es que hablan español. Después nuestra computadora, las series que vemos, las películas que vemos, hasta la música que escuchamos tendría que ser en inglés. Y algo que nos va a ayudar bastante es eso, porque en muchas películas, series, en canciones, vamos a escuchar estas expresiones, ¿no? Y es muy importante que los conozcamos. Entonces, te voy a ir ayudando. Be careful. Decir esto, be careful, es lo mismo que decir watch out. Alguien te dice watch out cuando te dice cuidado. Go for it, ve por ello. Be kind, sé bueno, sé amable, ¿no? En corazón. Be careful again, watch out. All right, let's wait. Hello, Jasmine.
Teacher?
Are you there? Can you hear me, Jasmine?
Yes. Yes, now, yes.
Ok, good. Entonces, vamos a ir explicando. Como recomiendo, tenemos que aplicar esto para reconocer las palabras, pero te explico. Go for it ya lo tenemos, ¿no? Hazlo, haz lo que tú quieres hacer, ¿no? En un sentido positivo. Be kind, ¿no? Sé bueno, sé amable. Have heart, ten corazón. Be careful. Cuando alguien te dice be careful, automáticamente te dicen watch out o look out. Las dos expresiones siempre van a significar cuidado, ¿no? Por ejemplo, tú estás cruzando la calle y hay un auto, tú no has visto, pero tu amigo ha visto. ¿Qué te va a decir tu amigo si es que habla inglés? Watch out, ¿ya? No hay otra manera de decir ten cuidado que watch out, look out. O be careful también tiene esa intención, pero lo que más se va a usar es este phrasal verb que es watch out. Ten cuidado o cuidado. Este, be patient, ¿no? Sé paciente. ¿Qué será? La expresión wait and
Why?
see. Exacto, ¿no? Wait and see. Espera y ve, ¿no? Espera y ve qué pasa. Muy similar a lo que decimos en español. Don't be so serious. Si sabemos que have a heart era be kind, don't be so serious, no seas tan serio, va a ser lighten up. Quiere decir como enciéndete, ¿no? Préndete un poco, pero no en un sentido de emocionate o algo así, ¿no? Sino de ponte más feliz, ¿no? Ponte, emocionate un poco, no estés tan serio. Lighten up. Then you have behave calmly even though you may be worried, ¿ya? Compórtate, ya behave es comportarse. Calmly, de forma calmada, even though you may be worried, ¿no? Aunque estés preocupado. Sería como keep cool. Exactly, right? Como mantente cool, que sería mantente tranquilo, ¿no? Ahí sigue la corriente, sigue con lo que va. Keep cool. Entonces aquí tenemos wait and see, nos vamos marcando. This one. Desde aquí ya usamos la mayoría, entonces por descarte trata de elegir Jasmine. Number 7. Keep trying to deal with a difficult situation. What would it be?
There.
Exactly. Hanging there significa, hang es como colgar o sostener. Hanging there es como decir sostente ahí, ¿no? Mantente ahí. Tú puedes. Sigue. Deal es como enfrentar. Keep trying to deal. Sigue intentando enfrentarte con una situación difícil, ¿no? Hang in there. Mantente ahí. Sigue luchando. Stop being so sad. ¿Cuál sería?
Cheer up.
Yes. Go for it ya sabemos qué significa, ve por ello, ¿no? Entonces no tiene que ver con no seas triste. Cheer up significa anímate. Alguien que hable inglés, la única manera no te va a decir be happy, eso significa ser feliz. Cuando alguien te quiera animar, anímate, la única manera de decir eso es cheer up, ¿ya? Cheer up, anímate. Cheer significa como esta cuestión de alegría, estar animado. Y up, si te das cuenta, significa arriba, o usas cuando enciendes algo. Entonces, cheer up es como decir enciende tus ánimos o anímate. Then, don't do anything until you see what happens next. What would it be?
Play by ear. Ear?
Exactly. Good, very good. Play it by ear, right? Play it by ear. Esto es bastante, es una expresión bastante metafórica. Play it by ear significa tócalo por oído, ¿no? Por oído. Pero significa otras palabras, no hagas nada hasta que tú veas lo que pasa después, ¿no? Entonces, espera, ve lo que pasa y recién actúa. Play by ear. And don't let others change your opinion. Which one would it be?
Stick you to your guns.
There you go, right? Stick to your guns. Now, with that over there, con eso ahí, stick, ¿qué significa? Como mantente con algo, sostén algo. Your guns significan tus armas. Eso en otras palabras es igual metafórico, porque literalmente significa, ¿no? Mantente pegado a tus armas. Que en otras palabras es, no dejes que otros te cambien, ¿no? La opinión. Si piensas que eso es así, no cambies de opinión. Alright, so, let's try to test this. Vamos a tratar de testear un poco esto. Lo que voy a hacer es como entre comillas reiniciar esto, ponerlo de esta manera. And let's try to explain. Tratemos de explicar un poco estas palabras, lo que nos acordamos. You can use Spanish. Podemos usar español. So, what is go for it, Jasmine?
Ver por ir por eso.
Good. Ve por ello, ve por eso. Good. Keep cool. ¿Qué podría ser? O explícame con una situación o trata de explicar de alguna manera. What could it be? Keep cool. All right. If not, we're going to go with easier ones. Vamos a hacer por descarte después. This one over here. Wait and see.
Espera y ver.
Y en otras palabras, ¿qué te está comunicando con wait and see?
Be patient.
Yeah, good. Be patient, right? Sé paciente. Tenemos ahí. Muy bien. Then what about stick to your guns?
Ay, no me acuerdo, estaba en la última.
Yes, don't worry, we're going to go there again. Cheer up.
Es anímate.
Good, perfect. Have heart, you have it there, lo tenemos ahí creo, pero igual. What is have heart?
Es como tener corazón.
Exactly, right? Be kind, ¿no? Ten corazón. Then lighten up. Do you remember lighten up? All right, and the last one we're going to try, el último que intentamos, this one, hanging in there.
No.
Okay, so this is the last time we're going to go there. Vamos una vez más, por la última vez, pero vas a ver con esto ya vamos a tener un poco más claro. Después sería ya ir repasando por tu parte, y como te comento, lo que recomiendo es que cambiemos prácticamente todo lo que vemos, todo lo que escuchemos y nos obliguemos poco a poco a estar rodeados por el inglés. Va a ser la única manera de que estemos familiarizados con estas palabras. So, the first thing, ¿no? Lo primero, lo que no queda claro entonces, uno, eso estaba bien, eso estaba bien. Luego tenemos watch out, creo que me dijiste, estaba muy bien, wait and see. Vamos por los demás. Tenemos aquí, acá, ¿qué es lighten up? Que no estés muy serio, ¿no? Como enciéndete un poco, ¿no? No es como animarte, porque animarte es que no estés triste. Lighten up es que no estés serio, ¿ya? Y cheer up es que no estés triste. Entonces, cuando alguien está triste, tú le dices cheer up, para que no esté triste. Y cuando alguien es muy serio, no juega para nada, no hace chistes o no ríe mucho, le dices lighten up, ¿no? Como no estés tan serio, ¿no? Enciéndete un poco. Entonces, esa sería la diferencia. Si es que memorizas cheer up, fácilmente vas a poder recordar lighten up, Jasmine. Lighten up cuando alguien está serio, para que no esté serio, y cheer up cuando alguien está triste, para que no esté triste. ¿Ok? Entonces, lighten up, cheer up. Lighten up, cheer up. Cheer up, lo opuesto de sad. Lighten up, lo opuesto de serious, ¿no? Serio. Luego teníamos otras cosas que no podemos entender. Hang in there. Cuando estás en una situación difícil, ¿no? Y le dices a alguien, sigue luchando, ¿no? Sostente ahí, mantente ahí. Ese es hang in there. Esto tú le dices a alguien o alguien te va a decir a ti, Jasmine, cuando ve que tú estás en una situación difícil y te cuesta, pero tú sigues, ¿no? Entonces, en esa situación ellos te dicen, hang in there. Mantente ahí, ¿no? Sigue. Stick to your guns, ¿no? Una vez más, que nadie cambie la opinión que tienes. Evidentemente, si es correcta, no la cambies, ¿no? No dejes que otros cambien esa opinión que si es buena, que se mantenga ahí. Stick to your guns. Y lo último, play by ear, no, play it by ear, que que significa ve qué es lo que ocurre después. Primero, actuar, ¿no? Antes de hacer algo. I know that right now it's hard to memorize, es difícil memorizar ahora, but let's try one more time. Pero vamos a intentar una vez más. And this time I'm going to try to ask you like this. Esta vez voy a intentar preguntarte de esta manera, ¿no? Sin el elemento ahí. ¿Qué es lo que recuerdas entonces primero, Jasmine? Te voy a preguntar, ¿no? Algunas expresiones. Comencemos por lo que sabemos. Cheer up. What is cheer up, Jasmine?
Anímate.
Good. What is lighten up?
em,
¿O en qué situaciones la usas?
para animar también.
Ajá. ¿Y cuál es la diferencia entre cheer up y lighten up? ¿Recuerdas en qué situación cheer up y en qué situación lighten up?
Cheer up is like be happy.
Mhm.
Cheer
Good.
up is um,
Lighten up. What would it be lighten up?
eso, perdón. Ay, no sé cómo explicar.
Ah, en otras palabras, ¿recuerdas pero la palabrita? Uno era para sad. Cheer up is for sad, but lighten up is for serious, right? Don't be serious. In other words, ¿no? Lighten up, en otras palabras, es don't be serious. No seas tan serio, right? Don't be so serious. No seas tan serio. La siguiente, ¿qué sería esto? Trata de explicarlo igual. Hang in there. Hang in there. What do you remember about hang in there, Jasmine?
No, esa no recuerdo.
All right. Then the next one, watch out. What is watch out?
Teacher, no me acuerdo.
All right. You say watch out. For example, Jasmine, you are crossing the street. There is a car. Viene un auto. ¿Y qué te van a decir? Watch out.
Be careful, más o menos.
Perfect. Very good. Be careful. Watch out. Be careful. ¿Ya? A couple more. Vamos a ver un par más. ¿Qué sería esta de acá? Que es facilita, es la que ya la conocías. Go for it. What is go for it?
Ir por ello.
Yes. When you want something, right, and you can do it, right? Go for it. And one more. Uno más. Es un poco complicado, pero tratemos de recordar si es que podemos. Play it by ear. ¿Qué significa esa expresión? Play it by ear.
Era como algo de escuchar.
Yes, it's related to that. Y significa en otras palabras como que ve lo que pasa, ¿no? Primero, ve lo que pasa antes de hacer algo, right? Entonces son expresiones, yo entiendo justamente, por eso no espero que alguien lo conozca así tal cual, y obviamente ahorita no podemos memorizar eso en estos 15 minutos y menos. That's impossible, right? Es imposible. Pero lo que quiero también acá es que poco a poco, esto lo tenemos acá, Jasmine, es parte del material de lo que estamos revisando. Esto era parte de la unidad 1 y estamos en la 3. Pero lo que quisiera que hagamos es que poco a poco, ¿no? Por tu parte, yo voy a tratar de incentivar esto con estos momentos personales que tenemos en los martes y jueves, para revisar por tu parte el vocabulario de todas las unidades. Eso es lo de la 1. Miren la 2, ahorita vamos a terminar, estamos con sobre tiempo, ya sé. Hay vocabulario de phrasal verbs. Aquí, por ejemplo, está el vocabulario de algunos phrasal verbs que según la plataforma tendríamos que conocer para tener un mejor rendimiento tanto en este curso, pero también para que tú uses esto, porque cuando tú vayas a los Estados Unidos, Jasmine, allá no van a usar las palabras como tal. No te van a decir stop working correctly, no. Te van a decir breakdown. Cuando un auto se arruina, te van a decir the car broke down. Y tendrías que entender eso, a pesar de que no tiene sentido, porque break significa romper y down significa abajo. Pero un phrasal verb es la mezcla de dos palabras y el significado cambia totalmente. Go ahead, ¿no? ¿Qué significa esto de acá? Do what you've been planning to do, ¿no? Haz lo que estabas planeando hacer. Go significa ir, ahead significa adelante, más o menos se entiende, pero también el significado cambia. Catch up on, ¿no? Get the most recent information, como ponerte al día. Pero catch significa atrapar, up significa arriba, on significa encima. Si lo entiendes parte por parte, no se va a entender. Entonces, ¿cuál es la única manera? Ir revisando cada que podamos esto, Jasmine. Y nuevamente lo que recomiendo, aunque al principio va a ser muy difícil, Pero si quieres empezar a prepararte para el inglés y para los Estados Unidos, cambia absolutamente todo lo que tienes en tu computadora a inglés. No veas ninguna serie en español hasta que te vayas a los Estados Unidos. No veas ninguna película en español hasta que te vayas a los Estados Unidos. Hasta tu música. Trata de cortarte música en español hasta que vayas a Estados Unidos en inglés. Es radical, pero esa es la manera más rápida, porque yo sé que tú quieres ir aprendiendo y ya preparándote en inglés para ir allá, pero es la manera más rápida y efectiva de que aunque te sientas totalmente confundido y no entiendas nada, día tras día eso va a ir cambiando. ¿Ok?
Teacher,
Tell me, Jasmine.
so how is the English in Irlanda?
Ireland. In Ireland, look, it depends because it's if you get used to, si te acostumbras. Actually, Irish accent is very hard. El acento irlandés como tal es bastante difícil. Even Americans and British, ¿no? Los americanos y los británicos a veces en burla o en juego, ¿no? Hablan del acento británico como muy difícil de entender. Evidentemente no porque todos hablen así. If you go to school, if you go to university, it's going to be great. ¿No? Una universidad va a ser grandioso. It's going to be like any English, va a ser como cualquier inglés. But in general, people there, the accent of Irish, all right, el acento de los irlandeses, it's kind of really hard. It's very fast, and they use other expressions, usan otras expresiones. They use also these phrasal verbs, usan también estos phrasal verbs. But other ones, other expressions that we don't teach here, incluso otras expresiones, pero que tampoco se enseñan acá, tampoco se enseñan en Inglaterra, pero ellos son como que con sus propias expresiones, right? It's like going to Colombia instead of going to Chile, ¿no? Como ir a Colombia en lugar de ir a Chile. It's the same idea. You
Ah,
learn English, your English is going to be the same, tu inglés va a ser lo mismo, vas a entender, but of course it's going to be hard, right? Si vas a Chile y nunca has estado en Chile antes, it's going to be hard for you to understand, right? If you go to Colombia and you've never been to Colombia before, it's going to be hard to understand. So the basic, okay, lo básico, the basics of the language, lo básico del lenguaje, inglés o español, it's the same. But what you need to be careful with, con lo que hay que tener cuidado, one is the expressions, uno son las expresiones, por eso debemos estar acá, and second, the pace of the speech, el ritmo del habla, ¿no? Qué tan rápido hablan o qué tan lento hablan, qué tantas contracciones usan, etc. In that way, Irish can be a little bit hard, but if you get there, si vas ahí, you're going to get accustomed to it. Tú te acostumbras al final, no hay ningún problema. ¿Ok?
so teacher, ¿en cuánto tiempo cree que uno aprende a hablar inglés? Así va a estudiar a otro país.
And how many times from zero, you're saying, casi desde cero aprender inglés?
Ujú. O más o menos.
It's, as I'm telling you, it depends. When you go to a different country, it happens what I'm telling you. Lo que yo te estoy diciendo que hagas justamente es como una prueba de ir a otro país. If you, for example, do that, you go to Ireland, vas a Irlanda, and no one is going to speak Spanish. Nadie te va a hablar español. So you're going to make yourself learn. Te vas a obligar a aprender. And when you do that, perhaps, of course, in the first 2, 3 weeks, en las primeras 2, 3 semanas, ya vas a estar hablando en un inglés comunicacional. Of course, it's not that you know English. No es que vas a saber inglés, pero te vas a saber comunicar porque tienes que saber si es que quieres sobrevivir, right? Si quieres saber dónde es cierta calle, dónde está el lugar, so you are going to learn because you have to learn, no porque tienes que aprender. So in the first weeks, like communicational English. But to speak a little bit better, I think from the second, third, fourth month, let's say, desde el cuarto mes, your English is going to improve a lot. Tu inglés tendría que mejorar ya bastante. From 6 months and up, de 6 meses para arriba, pero estando ahí en un ambiente totalmente rodeado de inglés, y tú cuando vas a tu casa no ves español, sino más bien sigues con inglés, from 6 months and above, de 6 meses para arriba, ya tendrías que tener un nivel bastante aceptable de inglés. Pero como te comento, tendrías que estar muy metida ahí. Alright, 6 months. But if it's little by little, si es poco a poco, como en países como en Latinoamérica donde no hay inglés, you need a lot of time, se necesita más tiempo. Más aún si es que no practicas inglés fuera de los cursos, más aún si se consume poco contenido en inglés, toman bastante tiempo, ¿no? Pero nuevamente, 6 meses para arriba si es que estás totalmente rodeada de inglés, Jasmine. All right. Evidentemente, obviously, if you can be more time over there, si puedes estar mucho más tiempo allá, personas que sé que han vivido y que son dedicadas 1 año, 2 años en otro país donde solamente hablan inglés, they can speak English very, very well, like very fluently and natively, ¿no? En 1 año o 2 ya sería, digamos, un nivel nativo incluso que se puede alcanzar, but it depends on you. Pero nuevamente te digo, depende de ti y cómo te manejes allá. De 6 meses para arriba ya es con una dedicación a ello, Jasmine.
Okay,
Okay?
teacher, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So keep practicing. Try to challenge yourself like that, Jasmine. ¿No? Trata de darte ese reto, Jasmine. When you do what I'm telling you, cuando es lo que te estoy diciendo, you change everything to English. It's like when you travel. Es como cuando viajas. Oblígate a ver y a entender todo en inglés. From your cell phone to your computer, to the music, to the movies, and to everything you have relation with, ¿no? Todo con lo que te relacionas ponte en inglés y oblígate a entender poco a poquito. That's going to help you a lot. Aunque al principio no entiendas, that's going to be like living in a different country. Va a ser como vivir en otro país, ¿no? Sientes esa presión, sientes esa frustración de no entender, but frustration is good. La frustración es buena porque a través de la frustración tú vas a aprender, ¿no? Evidentemente poco a poco va a desaparecer y eso va a ser positivo. So, that's it for today then, Jasmine. I think she left. All right. And we're going to finish here.